This week's episode, we'll be talking about the next indie flick,
M. Night Shyamalan's Glass,
Duncan Jones's new flick, Mute,
the original Gone in 60 Seconds,
The Founder,
and our feature presentation, Baby Driver.
All right. Welcome to episode 7 of the Harsch Review of Film and TV podcast. My name is Sean, and with me is Ryan.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
What's going on, Ryan? How you doing?
I'm good. What have you been up to? You been checking anything out lately?
Yeah, I've been pretty excited. A couple news stories hit this week that are all right up my alley.
Oh, nice.
First is some news from Spielberg about the next Indiana Jones film, which is actually going to be his next movie. Little Steven there was debating between doing West Side Story or Indiana Jones, and I think because he wants to get the casting right for West Side Story, he's going to bump it after he does Indiana Jones.
He's going to do a musical, huh?
Yeah, he's going to do a musical on that one. So we're looking at
musical Indiana Jones, or
I hope not. They really need to bounce back after the last one. Yeah, but if you guys didn't hear our last episode, we spent some time with Indiana Jones, so it's pretty exciting that we get rewarded with a little news here. But yeah, looking to film in 2019, probably looking at a July 2020 release. And Harrison Ford will probably be 77, 78 years old by the time they get the cameras rolling.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what they do with this one. It's nice that we're getting something official, though.
That's exciting. I just wonder if old Harrison will hold up for this movie, or if he's going to have a sidekick or what.
Yeah, who knows? I'm really looking forward to seeing how they approach it, especially since the last movie didn't quite hit with everybody, as we previously discussed. Either way, good news. Excited that Steven's going to kind of go back and finish this one off, so looking forward to that.
Me too.
All right, so speaking of other directors out there, M. Night Shyamalan, he recently tweeted a couple days ago that he came back from L.A., where he showed 12 minutes of Glass to Universal Pictures and Disney Studios, and there was a very, very gracious reaction.
Nice.
So if you guys don't know, Glass is the third movie in his Unbreakable trilogy, with the second one coming out, Split. So he's getting that one underway. He's already got a lot of footage. He's a lot further along than I thought.
Is this one going to be a prequel, or is it just continuing?
No, what I think is going to be happening, so to kind of tell the story with Unbreakable, originally with Bruce Willis, kind of set up as the Unbreakable character who was the unknown hero, and Samuel L. Jackson played Glass, who was the mastermind that created these disasters in order to try to expose him, because he wanted to look for his counterpart out there. He was the breakable man. He wanted to find the unbreakable man.
Uh-huh.
And then we watched Split 2016. I watched it early 2017, and people went into this movie not having any idea that it was connected to Unbreakable, and really talked about the character that James McAvoy played, who had 20-some-odd personalities. But at the end of that movie, spoilers, it ties Bruce Willis into that as this crazy guy is part of the Unbreakable universe. And they show Bruce Willis in a diner.
Good surprise than we're used to from M. Night. That's a lot better, I think.
A little more tasteful compared to the big gotcha moments.
Uh-huh.
But essentially, Split just set up the main villain for this third movie. So how Samuel Jackson's character Glass ties back into it, I don't know. How Bruce Willis's character, what he's been doing since Unbreakable, how he gets dragged back into it, I don't know. A lot of unknowns. There's a lot of potential here. I do remember some conversations that Kevin Smith was having on one of his podcasts about some really good ideas he had to complete a trilogy. So it's something you should check out. Google that and check it out. I'll see if I can find some links and get them in there. But either way, very promising. It's nice to see something coming out from M. Night Shyamalan that I'm not totally terrified of.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one as well. It just might be a big turnaround for him. I know Split kind of signaled his comeback, and then hoping he can make some consistent movies from here on out.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, outside of that, the last thing I got is from a very promising director, Duncan Jones, who, if you don't know, is the son of the late David Bowie. He's known for Source Code, Moon, which I think is an incredible film.
I love Moon. It's such a good movie.
We need to talk about that one in the future. So if you love Moon, hit us up with some questions, share your thoughts. We'd love to mention them on the show. Hit us up over at Twitter at The Harsch Review, or on our Facebook, or head to our website. And the last one he did was Warcraft, which gave him the benefit of the doubt. I was a big fan of the game at one point in time. And
got me into it for a minute there.
It's a tall order on that one. But
I tried.
Did you see the movie?
I skipped that movie. I didn't. I was trying to repress the memory of the game.
Oh well.
I felt that the movie would have been a trigger.
I figured they just needed another $15 from me after all these years. But my opinion of the movie is exactly kind of what you would want as a basic Warcraft fan. It did a pretty decent job with introducing a lot of characters, but you didn't really get a solid backstory. It's just nice seeing a lot of those visuals actually kind of come to life. But unfortunately, I think it kind of fell short in a lot of areas. Some of the casting was not quite there. He did a great job with the visual effects. Very surprising that he was even drawn to it. It has that B-movie feel, unfortunately.
Kind of a low-rent Game of Thrones, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think that the biggest difference between this and something like Game of Thrones is you've got swords and you've got some mystical creatures, but Warcraft leans a lot more on the magic side and has a much larger, a lot of different races and things that are going on in the world, where Game of Thrones is just kind of very simple. To me, Game of Thrones is like people that all live on an island and have nothing better to do, but then like try to be the most powerful.
Get up into each other's business and whatnot.
Oh yeah. It's like the Burbs.
Have sex with each other, and we won't spoil the show for you. But if you haven't seen it, get with the program. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. So he's bouncing back, and he's got this movie called Mute, and it is one that he's actually releasing on Netflix in 2023. So this is coming up pretty quick.
Cool.
It's got Alexander Skarsgård, Paul Rudd, Justin Theroux starring in it, and essentially the basic plot right now. There's an official one that's come out, but the best one I saw on IMDb was it's 40 years from now in Berlin, where everything's very different. East and West are clashing together. It's very science fiction, Casablanca type way. And Alexander Skarsgård plays a character named Leo, who's a mute bartender. And the only reason he's really living there is that his sister, I believe, has disappeared. And when he starts going on a search for her in the underbelly of the city, some strange American surgeons seem to be the only one who really know what's going on, and he doesn't know if he should trust them when they help him or if he should fear them. The trailer just got released. Check it out. We'll post some links on our website, and it's definitely got my interest, and it's really nice seeing him kind of bounce back a little bit more on the science fiction side and less on the fantasy.
That locale is kind of a nod to his dad too, because I know David spent a lot of time in Berlin, made some of his best albums there, and I think Duncan also spent some time there with his father. So that's an interesting choice of locale for the movie.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, especially because, Duncan Jones is very promising. He's got a very nice taste. Obviously, he could do a whole lot with very little with Moon. And this doesn't look to be a huge, big budget flick, but it's got some good talent in it. Seems to have its own point of view, and it's coming straight to Netflix, 2/23. So I can't think of a movie that's hit Netflix recently with this level of pedigree. Pretty excited. So it's a good way to start off the year, coming into you at February.
Nice.
But that's all I got for the news. What about you, man? What have you been watching?
Well, in anticipation of this episode, since our feature presentation has some car chases and some heists and things like that, but focusing more on the car chases, I went way back to 1974 to watch a movie that some would say is the ultimate car chase film, the original Gone in 60 Seconds, which is available on Amazon Prime.
Oh, wow. You went way deep on that one.
I did. And you know what? I really, really liked it.
When's the last time you've seen it?
Well, I've never seen it. I mean, I think I might have seen the remake of it. I kind of wrote off Nick Cage a long time ago, but I had never seen this version of it. Do you know anything about this movie?
I saw it when it came out. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of hype about it. The car that Nick Cage has in there was pretty popular.
Right.
I know that Angelina Jolie still wasn't a household name at the time, so she kind of had some mystique going on, some of that like 90s sexiness or something with the white girl with the blonde dreads, and you know, she had a cool vibe in there. And Nick Cage obviously was riding high. I don't know where this movie sat with Face Off and Con Air and The Rock, and he was just knocking them out of the park in the 90s. So
he was. Now, have you seen the original version of the film?
I have not.
That's the one I saw. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this movie.
You didn't see the Nick Cage one?
I didn't. I went all the way back to the source. I went to the
I'm
source
thinking
material.
You're watching this. I'm like, wow, you really loved it?
No. Well, okay, let me tell you something about it.
I do know that there's original, but I don't know anything about it, so enlighten me.
Okay, so first of all, it's got a 40-minute car chase.
40 minutes.
40 minutes. And
Wow.
I'm not lying. It's involving a yellow 1973 Ford Mustang.
Uh-huh.
During the movie, basically the plot is that a group of car thieves, they have to steal 48 cars in just a couple days. And the elusive car is this Ford Mustang called Eleanor. That's the code name they give it.
That's what I remember in the remake.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, the first 35 minutes are just a very B movie. The guy who made the movie, he ran an auto chop shop in real life. So a lot of it's kind of a passion project of his. So a lot of the actors and other people in this movie that have any kind of dialogue, which is horrible, by the way, they're all like friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
But then the coup de grace, if you want to say, of the movie is this 40-minute car chase scene that actually ended up destroying a total of 93 cars.
Jeez.
Yeah, he bought all the cars himself for $200 each from a auction, and kind of tooled them up, and then I guess they filmed the actual car chase in pieces, and it takes place in L.A., like I guess 5 different cities in the L.A. area, and a lot of it looks to be just kind of filmed off the hip, because you look at like the bystanders and the people watching, they have no idea that they're in a movie. Like they have no idea what's going on. There's genuine shock as to like what's happening. And I got to tell you, the car chase is actually pretty riveting. It was very entertaining. Just looking up in the history of this movie, I guess one guy was almost killed, a bunch of people injured. I mean, this is the real deal. No CGI. It's all pretty riveting in terms of like a real organic, car chase action movie. So I would recommend this to anybody. If at the 40-minute car chase scene, it's a bit much, it sounds like on paper. I mean, I was watching it and I'm like, when's this thing going to be over? And then I went online. I'm like, oh yeah, it's 40 minutes.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it's like 30 minutes of a B movie, then a 40-minute car chase scene, then like a 10-minute ending. That's highly improbable. But the centerpiece of the movie is kind of what really would draw you into it.
Well, you got me all pumped up thinking you're getting excited in one of those 90 gems there with Mr. Nick Cage, but now you got me excited to go and check this out, because a 40-minute car chase, something I haven't seen. Yeah,
and this is a first for me as well. And I think it's the longest documented car chase in a movie ever.
Well, I think you need to complete that little moment there and go back and watch the 90s flick. You will be disappointed but entertained.
Kind of pales in comparison, but okay.
Yeah, give it a shot.
I'll put it on my long list at the bottom.
Bam.
Yeah. What about you? What have you been watching?
I watched The Founder. Do you know this movie?
I do. It's about the guy who made McDonald's, right? Ray Kroc?
Yeah. So to give you guys a little bit of backstory, this is on Netflix now, so go check it out. It stars Michael Keaton, who I thought was pretty awesome. Ray Kroc, he's the salesman who turned the McDonald's brothers' innovative fast food restaurant into a franchise, which is the biggest restaurant in the world. And it's really just a movie about ambition, persistence, and ruthlessness. It's a great cast: Nick Offerman, John Carroll Lynch, B.J. Novak, Laura Dern, Patrick Wilson. I was pretty surprised going into the movie because I knew what it was about, but I didn't really know, is it just going to be what's kind of movie is it going to be?
Yeah.
And to give you a little bit of a rundown of it, some of the things that I kind of picked up is where the movie starts off introducing you to Ray Kroc, who's just some 1954 door-to-door salesman selling milkshake machines. Kind of seems like your typical door-to-door salesman. He's in an unhappy marriage. He's married to Laura Dern, who just kind of sits around the house looking miserable the whole time. And Ray is one of those guys who just fails after failure after failure. Finally, these McDonald's brothers who are out near your neck of the woods in San Bernardino.
Yeah, and I've actually been to that site, and it looks like nothing that's in the movie.
Yeah,
so I don't know where they filmed this at, but
it's when they did their San Bernardino back in the day, I'm looking at it going, yeah, that ain't San Bernardino.
No.
Come a long way.
It's come quite a long way.
And not for the better.
No, unfortunately.
Yeah. But the McDonald's
thanks for
brothers,
outing me on where I live, by the way.
Oh, no, I said your neck of the woods. I know we don't. Yeah, you know better than to live in San Bernardino.
Yeah.
Southern California.
It's kind of close.
Yeah, it's a hour drive.
At least.
You're looking at these two McDonald's brothers, right? And that's Nick Offerman and John Carroll Lynch. And they're both very nice, homegrown kind of boys. But really, they're a little naive as well. They tried to franchise it. They tried to get it going. They couldn't. And along comes Ray, who really sees the genius in their system and really is just persistent enough to, weasel his way in to be a business partner. And next thing you know, this guy's hitting the ground running. Movie starts to stall out a little bit in the middle when Ray's still struggling with money, although he's creating more and more McDonald's around, the Midwest, and starts turning into, you went from being empathetic for his character, wanting him to succeed, and then you just watch him turn into like this prime asshole who you don't care for at all.
Yeah, he's the most intelligent.
Job.
He's the most intelligent character in the movie.
Yeah, he is.
Everybody else is just kind of duped by him. He's an intelligent asshole.
Yeah, and that's where, in business, he at some point just kind of comes to the point to where he doesn't care about his marriage, doesn't care about anything. Now he's getting the power, now he's getting the success. And, we won't give it a lot of it away if you want to go and kind of check it out, because it still is a pretty interesting story to see how it goes. But ultimately, we all know what happened. Everybody's had McDonald's, and he's opened up McDonald's in over 100 countries. And they end the movie with this one little fact that McDonald's feeds 1% of the world's population each day.
That's crazy.
I know. So I'm going to do my best to never be that 1%, but sometimes it happens.
Yeah, it has to happen.
So if you're looking for a interesting movie, there's some really cool scenes. There's a lot of good history and backstory that's in there. Not a lot of stuff out there like it, so it's definitely worth checking out. I really enjoyed it.
It's good, and as a former McDonald's employee, it really brought back a couple memories.
Yeah, was it as hardcore as it was portrayed in that movie?
Not really. I mean, it's obviously come a long way. I just remember a couple things, like a lot of the food, after you prepared it, you had to throw it in this special microwave to heat it up. And I don't know what the microwave did, but it wasn't like a normal microwave you'd find in your kitchen. And I know all the French fries came in like a bag, and you didn't know what they did to it before they got to you, but they definitely weren't fresh.
Sure.
A lot of interesting characters that worked there more than anything. So,
well, you reminded me, what I thought was the best scene in the movie, where Ray takes the brothers out to dinner because he just wants to know their story, and they kind of tell them the genius behind their operation and the efficiency they had, and they had to create their own machines, and they had to make their own things to put the exact same amount of ketchup and mustard on the buns with the 2 pickles and all these things back in the 50s, which are, for the most part, still there today.
Yeah.
But they drew out the blueprints on a tennis court for how they were going to lay out their restaurant.
Nice.
And then they had the staff rehearse on top of it, making fake burgers and doing things and timing it. And so it really kind of felt like a play or a stage with the way that they kind of portrayed that. And I thought it was a really fascinating way to say, like, this is how they found a formula to be able to get you your food in 15 seconds.
That was a good scene. And I mean, that kind of assembly line approach really persists to this day.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I haven't worked there in a while, obviously, but,
Yeah, let's hope not.
I moved on to other things.
Yeah. It's a good starter gig, but it's Founder. Check it out on Netflix. A lot of fun.
Excellent.
All right. Well, what's next, Ryan?
Well, we got our feature presentation. Baby Driver. Baby Driver is the riveting story of a young music-addicted getaway driver who becomes inexplicably torn between a life of crime with a gang of hard-nosed thieves and the woman of his dreams. Baby Driver, who becomes baby driver, inexplicably torn. Baby. All right, so before I get into this movie, Sean, I wanted to ask you a couple quick questions. Since, again, this movie centers on bank heist, just general robbery, and car chases, I wanted to ask you what your favorite movie or movies are involving a heist or a car chase.
Okay, well, I got a couple for you.
Right,
good question. So, car chases, absolutely for me. I think the first one that really stayed with me was Blues Brothers. I know how you feel about it.
Oh yeah, I love it.
That it's an awesome car chase because of how absurd it is. But it's a lot of fun, and it almost
it's not 40
it feels
minutes.
It feels like it gets pretty close to that 40 minutes though. Yeah, when you do a little bit of research on what they did to actually make that in Chicago, it's pretty fascinating with how many cop cars and things that they destroyed. My favorite part is really where they're going in reverse and he slams the brakes and then his car just does like a double backflip over the Nazis' car and then goes soaring out in space and they're way above the city. And it's
Illinois Nazis.
Yeah. It's totally crazy, but it's a lot of fun. So I had Blues Brothers down as my first car chase, and then for my second, I was gonna go with the obvious Ronin, but I remembered the one that I really enjoyed was in Death Proof. With Quentin Tarantino, and it's one of the ones that I think most people don't really quite pay attention to. I think it's an awesome car chase scene simply because of the way that the camera moves in motion with the car and how long of shots that they have and the stunt acting that they did. That might be longer than 40 minutes. It's half the movie is
you
essentially
think so?
That it's pretty close. I need to look it up, but it's a
lot
pretty
of
rad
tension
car
in that
chase.
Scene.
Yeah. That's really great with Kurt Russell in there.
Good picks.
Zoe Bell. Yeah. So Death Proof, Blues Brothers, some of the best.
What about for like a heist? What movies you like as far as a heist goes?
For heist movies, one I watched recently was Die Hard, and it's a good heist movie where the Germans want the bonds, and John McClane's got to stop them.
Which, by the way, like a lot of movies do the bonds, and you never really find out what they do with them.
Yeah, I know. Once you get them, then you gotta you gotta get some money out of them.
You gotta convert them somehow.
I think it's an easier way to show money on screen, and it's larger and visually just is a little more appealing, a little more mystique. But yeah, the bonds. So, I mean, when I watched that movie when I was younger, you know what the hell that means. You're just like, okay, well, it's valuable. They want it.
Yeah.
But I really liked Die Hard. I thought it was a pretty cool setting for a heist movie. And my second one would be, I think, Three Kings. Which is another great heist movie that doesn't start off as a heist movie. It's a lot of fun out in Desert Storm, Iraqi Desert Storm, and follows that squad who sees an opportunity to steal some gold from Saddam.
Nice. That's a great movie. I love it.
Yeah. What did you write down? I'm really curious.
Well, I just picked one for the car chase because you stole my Blues Brothers.
Dibs.
Yeah, late 60s movie with Steve McQueen, Bullet.
Which that's classic.
I think it's an Alfa Romero he's driving, but I mean a lot of the movie's kind of dry, but then and it's set in San Francisco, but when this car chase gets going, it's pretty iconic. I mean I think it's one of the first like full-on car chases that's taking you all the way through San Francisco and then on the outskirts of town. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, I saw that maybe a few years ago, and it still holds up.
Yeah,
they did a great job with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Steve was driving the car, which is even more cool. So
yeah, that dude was badass.
Yeah, he was. So that's my car chase movie, and then as far as the heist movies go, I got two. The movie Heat with Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Val Kilmer. There's an amazing just heist in that movie. It's not so much the heist, but the aftermath of the heist, where as soon as they come out of the bank, there's just cops everywhere, and it takes place in downtown Los Angeles. So, and it's one of those movies where there's not a lot of bullets, but you hear the bullet, it's like every shot counts. Like you're just hearing these bullets reverberate, and then you're looking at how these guys are getting away from what they just did and planned and spent all this time orchestrating. So that's a pretty tense scene. And then my second pick is another Al Pacino movie, Dog Day Afternoon, from the 70s. And that movie pretty much takes place inside a bank. The whole movie's centered. Do you know anything about this movie? It's
been so long that I might as well just say no.
Okay. Well, like a real quick rundown. It's just Al Pacino. It's based on a real event. Al Pacino is basically a very inept man. He decides to rob a bank so he can fund a sex change operation for his boyfriend. And then it kind of things go wrong real quick. They get a lot of media attention. It's a very hot day in the summer in New York. And there's a lot of funny moments. There's some very tender moments, but the whole movie to me is kind of like a play because it just takes place in this one area, save for a few scenes in the end. One of my favorite bank movies. I still go back to that movie all the time. It's wonderful.
Is that one streaming anywhere?
No, I have the DVD, but I'm sure you can find it online.
Yeah. I'll add that to my list.
Yeah, it's really.
I've heard of it. I've seen it referenced many times. Sadly, I haven't seen it, but that's what we got you for, to watch all those old ones for us.
Yes.
So I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. That's what I do.
All right, so tell me what made you pick Baby Driver? Let's hear about it.
Okay, well, Baby Driver is one of those movies that it was kind of just came out and I didn't really know what it was at first. I just saw Baby Driver, and honestly, and this is what the first thought I had. I thought it was a sequel to Baby Geniuses. That movie, yeah. Baby. Like, I didn't know anything about this movie at all. I just saw someone said, "Hey, let's go see Baby Driver." I'm like, Baby Driver, like that sounds like Baby Geniuses. And then I kind of did a little more looking into the movie, and I'm like, oh, Edgar Wright directs it. Now, what do you know about Edgar Wright?
I love almost everything he does.
Me too.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big, like I've mentioned before, I'm just a big fan of any director or writer that is bringing in original content and has their own unique style. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and he's one of those directors to me, like a lot of his movies, they're kind of like homage movies where it's like, Shaun of the Dead is obviously horror movies. Hot Fuzz, he's kind of biting a little bit from Lethal Weapon and Bad Boys. A couple more of his movies follow that formula, but they're still highly original. And yeah, he's just like a great voice. So this particular movie is something he's been kicking around for about 20 years. He wrote it and directed it. And I'll just give you a little rundown on some of the basic information. It stars Ansel Elgort, Lily James, Elza Gonzalez, John Hamm, Jamie Foxx, and the late Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things now where that thing came out about Kevin Spacey. So every time I see him in a movie, I'm looking at it a little differently.
And
very unfortunate.
I don't know if you know this or not, but was this the last movie that he had released before his secrets were revealed?
I believe so, because it came out in the middle of the summer, and then that stuff started coming out. So
okay.
I think I don't know if it'll be the last thing he ever does. I know he was working on some other stuff, but who knows?
Yeah, well, McDonald's is hiring.
Yeah, hey, he could be in The Founder too.
Didn't he work at McDonald's in American Beauty?
I think so. I think somewhere like McDonald's, a McDonald's-esque type place.
Yeah. Anyways,
continue. So Edgar basically he came up with this movie when he was listening to a song by the John Spencer Blues Explosion called Bell Bottoms, and he said, wouldn't it be cool if I did a post-heist car chase set to the tune of this song? And that's kind of the starting point, and that's the genesis for this film. And actually, that car chase in the beginning is set to that song. Movie went on to make $227 million worldwide. It was done on a $34 million budget. It was shot in Atlanta. Supposed to be Los Angeles was the original locale, but I think because of money reasons and is more of an ease, they moved the production to Atlanta.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of just some basic information on it. There is a sequel in the works. It was announced a couple months ago. Edgar's gonna write and direct it again.
Oh, sweet! I didn't know that.
So we'll see what happens there. So I mean, basically, this movie is not about a little kid driving a car. The main character, his name is Baby, and he's a getaway driver. And more or less, when he was a child, and this isn't a big spoiler, but when he was a child, he was in a car accident that killed his parents and left him with tinnitus, which is a slight ringing in the ear. So to kind of combat this tinnitus and block it out, he listens to music on his iPod constantly. And you know, it's not only just music is a big part of his life, but it's like sound is a big part of his life. For example, he obsessively records like dialogue that people say, and then he goes home and kind of remixes it and just makes tapes and tapes of like just found dialogue and snatches and pieces of sounds and things and puts them all together. So it's kind of like, you know, music is his gateway to the world. It's how he makes sense of things. It's kind of like how he communicates. But then taking it a step further, music is also kind of the centerpiece of this film. It's really like a character in the film, as Mr. Spacey says on one of the extras. So it's really kind of a big deal in terms of how the film's presented. There's a lot of scenes that just center around music. For example, he'll be kind of moving around and dancing to, you know, certain things or lip syncing. And it really helped that the character or the actor playing the character, he's versed in dance and ballet. So, you know, I think they picked the right kid for this movie because it's pretty much he's in just about every scene, which is kind of interesting. I mean, the whole movie's seen through his eyes. Like you never really see the bank, you know, the bank heist or the robberies going down. It's always from his eyes. So the first scene, there's a bank heist. He's just looking at it from outside the window, sitting in the car.
And that is a unique approach to it, and it helps me appreciate even more is just seeing that they brought in a character which I didn't recognize, but you're instantly kind of intrigued and were brought right in there.
Yeah. And I mean, like it's the thing with this movie is it's on the surface, it's very simple. Very like it's almost like cliched, you know, it's like you kind of know what's going to happen. You know, he's running for this gang. He's in debt to this guy, Doc, played by Kevin Spacey. And I don't think you ever really know what he's in debt to him for, but he's working for him as a getaway driver, falls in love with a girl, and he's kind of conflicted between this life of crime and then, you know, running off with this girl and starting a new life somewhere. But then as you kind of look at a little more and how the music comes into play and how this character of Baby comes into play, there's a lot of layers involved. And Wright himself said that there's a lot of like little Easter eggs and little clues and little things in the movie that, you know, when I watched it a second time, I started picking up on. I never saw it the first time. For example, there's parts of the movie where, I mean, there's no music and then you hear this slight ringing in the background, which is more or less symbolizing the tinnitus that Baby has.
Yeah, that's very clever. That I agree. I didn't pick up on that initially either.
Yeah, and I mean the movie's is full of music just everywhere. I mean, and it's all pretty much like handpicked by him. So when there is no music, it's almost like, oh, you know. But then you hear this kind of slight ringing in the background, and it's like, okay, you're not only seeing it through his eyes, but you're kind of just putting into his shoes as well, and you're kind of living out everything that he's doing in the movie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I thought that was really cool about it. This is also a movie where, you know, Edgar Wright went in and he pretty much had every song picked out. Before they even filmed the movie, he had all the rights to the songs cleared well ahead of time. Which usually isn't done when you make a movie. I mean, with a lot of movies, the music's kind of just added in later. You don't really go into a movie saying, okay, this is my playlist for the film. And then he took it a step further and then he choreographed a lot of the scenes around that music.
Yeah, I was reading about that because, yeah, you're absolutely right. Is a lot of times people will use their movie or their rough cuts to persuade and get certain lucrative tracks or people to allow licensing and things like that.
Yeah.
But when he's doing a movie that is based around a very specific song, you have to ensure that you can use it.
Yeah.
But why did he maybe explain a little bit, why did he have to do that? Why was it necessary to have clearance to the songs before he was using it? What was different?
I mean, I could be wrong, but I think it's just because they're all pretty popular songs.
Sure, but I'm getting more towards how did he use the song?
Well, I mean, he used the song in the sense of like, scenes of bank robbery. There's scenes where the character's singing it. They're all on an iPod he's listening to. So,
Gotcha.
I mean, they're all pretty prominently placed in the film. There's a scene where they're doing a getaway and they're playing a song by a 70s punk band called The Damned. And it's a really like short song. It's like less than 2 minutes. But, if you watch the scene carefully, like he pretty much like loops the song for the duration of the scene. It's about a 5-6 minute scene, like from the time that they complete the heist and it's kind of like a botched robbery. And then they get away and then they're they have to go get another car. I mean, they're playing that song the whole time. And it picks up like those scenes are really like frenetic and really intense. And you're just you're really like drawn into it. So I found that like really fascinating, just how the choreography of this film is just taking a cue from the music rather than like the director of photography saying, no, we're going to set the scene up this way. It's like, I think when Edgar Wright went in there, he was like, we need to basically choreograph this to the music. We need to set everything up to the music. He even, so when he was casting the movie, this was another little tidbit I found interesting. The script was sent to the main actors, which is usually done. But along with the script was also an iPod containing a bunch of songs that were going to be played for the movie. Okay, so he sent everybody and he says, okay, this is where this song is. This is where this song is. So all those songs are pretty much a part of the movie. The main actor, he got cast because when he was doing his audition, Edgar Wright asked him if he could lip sync any songs. And Ansel said, well, I know how to do Easy by the Commodores. And Edgar Wright says, oh, that's interesting because that's one of my favorite songs as well. So basically got the part right there. And then
gotcha. Nice.
That scene is also in the movie using that song. So yeah, pretty interesting how he uses the music in this film. It's very unique kind of way of doing it. Even like the gunshots are in time to the beat of the music, which is kind of interesting. It's just you kind of figure out how they can do that. I think it might have been very meticulous, but then if you're kind of staging everything around the beat of music, it doesn't sound like it would be incredibly difficult. But it's still very creative.
As somebody who's, I consider myself a musician for the most part for, well over 20 years and having a very musical mind, I fell in love with this movie simply because of how well they blended together the music and the movements in real life. So to kind of paint that picture for you guys, if you hear a beat and they're showing somebody walking, they're ensuring that the person's pace and their steps is right on the bass drum and the snare hit. So it's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to have somebody moving at that pace. When somebody's counting, they're counting in rhythm with the tempo of whatever track is currently playing. When someone's pulling a trigger, it's typically on the downbeat of whatever music is playing, and it syncs up very well, and they'll even do burst movements and stuff. So I was kind of reading, and I watched some of the behind-the-scenes making of, and one of the things that I thought is they gave the actors, they all had these little earbuds, and they would cover them up with their hair, so they were all listening to the music while they were filming it, and they were doing a little bit of a musical dance with their action car chase performance. So they had to line them up, and if they didn't get it right, they'd have to do it again. Because they didn't really want to do any of that in editing. Yeah. It's really cool. It's something I haven't seen before, with the exception of, like you mentioned, musicals that, it's like tap dancing, very similar, but
right.
It's not so obvious and over the top. I know it could sound a little bit cheesy, but it's really not. It's very tasteful. Yeah,
and I mean, going back to that, like it makes the movie very organic when they do that. Also the fact that there's little to no CGI at all or green screen. So the car chases are real. And then I don't know too much about like stunt driving, but I know there's like a follow car. It's pretty much like the follow car is where the camera would be, and then it would just go right on the hood of the car that's driving. So Edgar Wright is the guy who's up in there filming the scenes. He's in the follow car. So if you're Ansel Elgort or whoever, you're driving the car, you're looking right at Edgar Wright doing this. Edgar Wright was continually cueing Baby to have this kind of face or this look when he was driving. He'd use the code words "man driver," and then he taught him this harkening back to our second episode. He taught him the Kubrick look. He showed him a picture of Malcolm McDowell driving the car in Clockwork Orange, and he said, "This is how I want you to look. Like this is the level of intensity I'm going for."
Yeah, and that's pretty cool that you have that little reference. The reaction shots and all the ones that they took in the car were actually shot for real, which was difficult to pull off. And what that means is they weren't edited in when something happened. It was actually in motion in the cars, in the vehicles, when they're actually doing real stunts. They caught the real reactions of the actors. And so you can tell when you watch it, it has a much grittier feel to it. Whereas imagine somebody driving a car and then they're going to crank it left and slam into the car to the left of them. And then they cut to the other driver's face and he's shaking around like he got hit. When you see that, it's the actual reaction from him responding to actually getting hit. Yeah. But it does show. It's a nice little touch there that's a big pain in the ass to capture. Yeah, and I mean, sometimes those reaction shots are done after the fact, like they could be done, if they need to go back and do a reaction shot, they do them in the studio or they just do them, not in the moment. So that's pretty rare to do it for this film. So, I mean, I brought up like the car chase movies and the heist movies because this movie really is kind of an old school type of movie. I mean, so it does remind you a lot of those old car chase movies. There's a romance kind of going on in this movie between a baby and a waitress he meets. And that's very kind of an old school feel to it, like a 50s or 60s kind of James Dean thing. He said when they did the wardrobe that Baby would wear white a lot and she would wear black and vice versa. Just those two, just to kind of make it feel like an old black and white like love story. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so just kind of incorporating a lot of things. So it's not really your typical car chase, bank robbery, love story. I mean, there's a lot of different things going on here. One thing I found kind of interesting to you Back to the Future fans is there's a lot of Back to the Future like trilogy references in this movie. Do you know anything about these?
I do, and that's kind of what I love about Edgar Wright is he has Easter eggs for days. So
yeah, and I think he did. There's an old show called Spaced, and I think he had a lot to do with that show. It's an old it's not old, but it's a British show, and that show is all about like those old references. So it's like you not only see a film, but you're seeing the filmmakers like love for these old movies that we love. So, he does some Back to the Future trilogy. Obviously, there's the fast driving. Kevin Spacey's character is named Doc. John Bernthal's character, who's like in the movie for like 5 minutes, his character's named Griff, and that's a Back to the Future 2 reference. Flea is in this movie. You know who Flea is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Flea plays a part in this movie. Flea was actually in Back to the Future 2 and 3. He plays a role in this movie. And then the character Doc mentions a past job they did called The Spirit of 85. That was the year that Back to the Future was released, 1985. So, a lot of different kind of like throwbacks. There's even a throwback to Shaun of the Dead. There's a scene in the beginning that's really highly like choreographed where, I don't know if you remember this scene, Baby's going to get coffee.
Yeah, that's hands down the best scene of 2017.
You think so?
I love long shots.
Yeah, and that's one shot.
I'm glad you mentioned it because that instantly right there, it's one of those movies where you're watching at home and you're not distracted. And you're like, okay, I'm all in. This was awesome.
Oh,
it's a really, really good scene.
Yeah, and that's a throwback to Shaun of the Dead because Shaun of the Dead kind of starts like that too. There's a scene where Shaun, gets up, he walks to a store, and then back home, and that's all one shot too.
And do you know? I mean, we're talking a single shot through an area of Atlanta, and it's a couple minutes long.
Yeah.
And I believe I was reading some of the stats. Do you know how many takes it took them to do it?
Ooh, I want to say more than 10.
Yeah, they did it 28 times.
Wow.
And they ended up using take 21. But
Wow.
if you haven't seen Baby Driver, just this scene alone is at least worth you looking up and checking out.
Yeah.
And it's pretty awesome. I love those long shots because you understand the amount of work that goes into making it happen. And this particular movie it is exceptional.
Yeah, and the whole scene is not only just him walking to the store, but there's a scene called Harlem Shuffle playing. And so the lyrics to the song you could see on the graffiti and the signs and the posters as he's walking along.
And it's timed up.
It is. So, I mean, if you're not paying attention, like I wasn't looking at all that. I was just kind of enthralled by that take. I didn't notice all of that, but it's all timed up. And then, it's just, and he's kind of dancing around and lip syncing and moving quick around people. It's a really captivating scene. I can't think of a lot of like long take scenes like that. There's a bunch in The Revenant. There's one in Goodfellas that's kind of
Goodfellas is strong with Ray Liotta in the beginning.
Yeah,
I think the one that don't quote me on this. This is going back to the '90s, Gone in 60 Seconds. But Nicolas Cage also did a movie called Snake Eyes, and that movie I believe was going for the record for the longest single take ever in a movie. And it is pretty rad where he's like walking into the casino during the boxing fight and it follows him along. Very Goodfellas-esque, except for the restaurant. It's a casino. I think there's a little bit more CGI play in there.
Yeah.
And then that's also the whole gimmick with Birdman.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Remember, Birdman was very CGI heavy with how they did transitions, but the whole movie's supposed to be feeling like the camera hits record and it doesn't stop.
Good movie.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. And that movie too has like some good use of music as well. Mm-hmm. The earliest like single take thing I can think of is a movie called Rope by Alfred Hitchcock. And that one is a whole movie and it's basically like 2 takes. So,
wow.
So when it gets to be like that, it's kind of like a play because there's really only a couple characters and they're not really going a lot of places. But I do know that, I mean, I think that's kind of an innovative thing to do. But again, it's very hard to do that. I mean, you got to take into consideration all kinds of things and you got to orchestrate that shot perfectly. And in this movie, it works amazingly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's rad.
Yeah, it's really good. So I mean, there's that. There's in this movie there was over 150 cars used for the film, and then they had to close down a bunch of streets in Atlanta, so they closed over 40 streets over the course of the production to film these car chase scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really, you just have to kind of do that. I mean, because this movie kind of goes all over the place. It's not just taking place over a couple blocks. They're driving all over the place.
That's cool. Yeah, it definitely shows too.
Yeah. A couple more things. Did you know that Ansel Elgort was on a short list to play Han Solo?
That he was. Say that one more time.
He was on the short list to play Han Solo in the spinoff.
Yeah, I did hear that, and it's funny you mentioned that because I feel he looks a little Han Solo-esque with the vest that he's got on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a
black jacket with white sleeves.
Yeah, it's a nice little tie there.
Yeah, so it's kind of like going into that. I don't know who's playing Han Solo now, but he would have been an interesting choice. Really good acting. I like to see him in other stuff.
Absolutely.
So I mean, that's pretty much a lot of the information I have for Baby Driver. I would definitely recommend it to, I mean, really anybody. It's got something for everybody. If you're looking for a love story, if you're looking for a car chase, crime drama, there's some humorous elements, but there's also like some very tender, not contrived or really, cheesy moments in it. It's just a solid movie. One of my favorites of last year. Watching it again was just a joy, and I'll watch that again and again.
Yeah, it's going to be on rotation. If you're a musician, if you're into any type of film sound, editing, sound mixing, and you have not seen this movie, you've got to move it to the top of your list. It's definitely worth it. It got the Oscar nominations for Best Achievement in Film Editing, Best Achievement in Sound Mixing, Best Achievement in Sound Editing. And when you watch it, you don't definitely understand why. I really hope it brings one of those home, as we kind of mentioned in our last episode. Overall, just a very fun movie. It's not only just how well it's crafted, you can see the love that Edgar put into it. But you mentioned another one coming out, so I'm really curious to see what direction they take it. What does your instincts tell you? Where do you think they can go with it?
Well, I mean, I don't want to like spoil the end or anything, but it's like it sets something up for, more adventures, particularly between Baby and his love interest. So, I mean, I think they can do that. Again, I just urge everybody to watch it and kind of speculate because, I mean, it could go either way. But if it's in the hands of Edgar Wright, like if someone else was doing it, I totally wouldn't think it would be a great sequel. But if he's doing it, and it just seems like he's had this thing in his head for 20 years, he's wanted to make this kind of movie. Another thing I thought of really quick was the amount of, going along with the music, all the musicians he put in this movie. Did you spot any of those musicians?
I did. I saw quite a few.
You see?
Flea, obviously.
Yeah.
I did recognize Big Boy in the diner with Killer Mike. Jamie Foxx, he's a musician, even though you've been really paying attention to him. But I didn't know about Ansel Elgort being a musician as well. He's a recorded artist.
Oh, okay.
Which I didn't know.
There's a guy, and I thought it was Simon Pegg, but there's a gun dealer in this movie. You know what I'm talking about? Little short guy with a white suit.
Yes, yeah, he's the main boss.
Yeah, I thought for some reason I thought it was Simon Pegg. His name's actually I think it's Paul Williams, and he's like an Academy Award nominated songwriter, and he was most recently on Daft Punk, their random.
That's right. Yeah, he was
on Touch, I think.
Yeah, he's
right?
He's the guy doing the vocals for it.
Yeah, so he's in that, and then
that dude's weird.
He is weird. He used to be on the Love Boat a lot.
Yeah, that dude's strange.
Yeah, he was in the first Muppets movie
Touch.
as well. Yeah,
I remember Touch.
Keep going.
No, I'm not going to sing that song. It's a good song though, but I just remember first time hearing it, being a big Daft Punk fan. I was going, "Who the hell? What was this guy?
Who's this Paul Williams character?"
Thing in my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the last one is John Spencer, who wrote the song in the beginning, the bell bottom song that kind of kicked off this whole movie and inspired the whole genesis of the film. He plays a prison guard in the end.
Yeah, you got to get him in there.
Yeah, you really can't see that much of him, but he's in it in the end as well. So, but it's just like again, like Edgar Wright does these homage films, and this one kind of takes that idea and just really expands it and makes it a lot more personal. And it's really, I think it's a timeless movie. I think, people will be watching this thing years from now. So
awesome. Well,
yeah.
Any other closing thoughts? Are you feeling pretty good?
Feel pretty good. Hope it picks up those Oscars. I think it's well deserved.
Yeah. Well,
a little peeve that it didn't get a nod for best original screenplay. I think, even again, like it seems like a cliched idea, but it's, it's got a lot of heart to it. So,
it's probably because of Kevin Spacey.
You think so?
I don't know. Maybe.
Hey,
Yeah. Who knows? He'll touch anything, I guess. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, I got just a couple here. I'm going to give you a couple trivia questions for this. I know you weren't expecting these. I know.
I was not. I didn't have time to study.
No, you didn't. Hopefully not. Yeah, some of the thunder was already taken out because you did your research.
Yeah.
So the just a couple of them. I've got, I think, 8 of them here.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
What popular mask was used in the second heist scene?
That would be Austin Powers.
Yeah, Michael Myers. Great scene in that movie.
The little story behind that too.
No.
Well, apparently they wanted the real Michael Myers mask, but they couldn't get the rights for it, so that they called Mike Myers, and they said, "Look, we're doing this scene. And, we kind of turned this situation into like a kind of a comical mix up between characters. So we would like you to, we'd like to borrow that likeness of Austin Powers. And Mike Myers, heard about the movie and gave him his blessing. He said, I think it's hilarious. Go ahead.
That's rad.
So, yeah, that is cool.
All right, next question. What actor in Baby Driver had a cameo appearance in the third Austin Powers film?
Oh. Would that be John Hamm?
No, yours truly, Kevin Spacey.
Oh, the late Kevin Spacey.
The late Kevin Spacey. Thank you.
Won't see him no more.
Yeah. All right, next question. What generation of iPod did Baby use?
And I know I had that one.
Who didn't?
Was it a fifth?
It's a classic.
The classic?
iPod Classic 80 gigabytes.
Okay. But he had a couple, right?
He did, but that was the classic.
That's from all the cars he stole, so.
All right, next question. This is an easy one. If you don't know it, I'll be disappointed. What famous song is the film named after?
That would be a Simon and Garfunkel song.
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a neat one. True or false? This is the first time director Edgar Wright has filmed in the United States.
That's true, actually.
Yeah, I was surprised to learn that. Very good.
Yeah.
What are the only two locations in the film that were filmed on a set?
I want to say the apartment.
That's one.
And
you can do this. Come on.
The post office.
No, the diner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the diner.
Okay.
In Baby's apartment.
Okay.
Okay, so Baby Driver is the first R-rated movie to show footage from what other movie studio?
Would it be Disney?
Yes.
Monsters, Inc.
Monsters, Inc.
Wow.
Yeah, first time that Disney has allowed their footage to be shown on any R-rated flick.
Disney's starting to loosen up.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned some of those musician cameos, which is one of the ones I had. And you mentioned that Flea was in the Back to the Futures. What other movie did he make a popular cameo in alongside his co-fellow musician Anthony Kiedis?
I can't remember the name of this movie.
Come on.
Was it The Getaway?
No. Point Break.
Point Break. Okay, I don't remember. I do remember Kiedis being in. I remember Kiedis got his foot blown off.
Yeah, he shot himself in the foot behind the door. Yeah,
that was good.
And Flea were in that one.
Darn it.
I know. Disappointed. All right, last question.
Okay.
So you mentioned John Berthnall, right?
Yeah,
what else has he filmed in Atlanta?
Oh, that would be The Walking Dead. He was Shane.
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
He's like he plays like the perfect prick.
Yeah, I remember.
I'm really liking him because he's getting typecast a little bit, but he fills that role perfectly. So
he was great. He wasn't in for too long, but he was great in Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah,
remember that? Yeah,
yeah.
The awesome. the weightlifter guy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Well, nice job. I know I didn't have a whole lot. The movie's still pretty new out there. Ones. But yeah, nice job. I'm really hoping folks go down and support and check out this movie. We really enjoyed it. It was a definitely pleasant surprise for 2017.
Yes.
Next week, we are going to be talking about There Will Be Blood.
Oh.
I know.
I'll drink your milkshake.
Yep. That movie's totally rad. So
I love that movie.
Really want to hear your thoughts, feelings, any questions that you might have. Please, reach out to us. You can send us an email at theharschreview@gmail.com. You can go to our website, and you can find all the links at theharschreview.com. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. We're all over there. Please give us some reviews. Check us out if you enjoyed the show. We really appreciate your guys' support. We're having a lot of fun. We hope so, you guys as well. And if you have any movies you want us to check out and want us to talk about and kind of do a little bit of research on and chew it up a little bit, let us know. We're just a social media thingamabob away. But that's what we got for today's episode. So looking forward to next week. My name is Sean.
And I'm Ryan.
Have a good one.
See you later.